Hey, I'm Julie and welcome to my show. So, when was the last time you actually felt good? Not fine, not keeping up, but actually feeling good? Because here's what I see again and again and again. Maybe you're successful, you're a senior leader, you're earning well, ticking every box, and feeling pretty hollow on the inside. Now, you're not burnt out in a way that people talk about burnt out. You're still delivering. Nobody would look at your output and think anything was wrong at all, right? But you know something is very wrong and you're exhausted in a way that sleep doesn't fix. Well, by the end of this episode, you'll understand why that is and you'll have something you can actually do about it this week. So let's start with this. What does it actually look like? I'm going to try and help you understand by showing you 3 examples and see if this resonates with you, okay? Now, these all resonate with me and I absolutely have been in these situations, okay? So number 1, you wake up tired. You're not necessarily sleepy, but you're tired in your bones. And you look at the time and you're like, do you know what? I've had about 8 hours tonight. Or maybe you're in back-to-back meetings, right? You've got your pad, you're moving backwards and forwards. You're not even sure which one you're in. But when you're there, you're performing really, really well. You're saying the right things. And something around about 2 p.m., you realise you haven't actually had a single genuine moment for yourself. Why? Because you've been executing a script. Or number 3, you get home and actually you feel that you've got absolutely nothing left to give, but you're not even sure why, because on paper, you've done a great job. You breezed through your meetings, but there's something that just isn't right. And you just generally feel that you've got nothing left to give. So out of those 3 examples, do any of those hit home with you? So have a think about that. And as I said, I know all of those definitely hit me when I was 35 years in the corporate. So I get it. I know what's happening. Well, I didn't know what's happening, but I knew something was going on, but I didn't know how to actually rectify it. And I always say now, I wish I knew back then what I know now, because I know my career would have been different. I would have been way, way more successful than I was. But anyway, let's crack on. So let's see what's actually happening here. Now, what most people normally assume can be like a number of things, like I'm working too hard, I need better boundaries, I need to delegate more, or maybe I need a holiday. Now, absolutely, those could all be true. Holiday, obviously, is always a great way to recharge. But when you've had a holiday, you're still coming back to the same situation and you're taking you with you, right? So you're taking your whole identity out of that situation, but just taking it somewhere else, but you're bringing it back. Now, I want you to understand, though, a few things here. This isn't necessarily a workload problem, and it isn't even necessarily a time management problem. Now, again, they could be part of this if you're really disorganized and you're not great at managing your time. But if you think you're really organized and you are really good at your job, but there's still something that is still draining you, you know that I do like an analogy, and this one I think will help hit home. So imagine your computer on your desk or your laptop, right? It's running and it's functioning, it's doing what it needs to do. You can go into all your applications, you can see what you need to see, but behind that, your CPU is running at 100%. It is flat out. So like I say, on the surface, it's working, but it allows you to see all the meetings, it allows you to go and attend everything else, but behind it, it's running at 100%. There's just nothing left. So if you think about your computer is like exhausted behind, it can do everything at a surface level, but behind it is just exhausted because it's running flat out. Now, as a computer, that's draining and that impacts how it functions, doesn't it? It gets slower. It maybe doesn't perform as it should over time. But imagine that is your body. Your body is your CPU, right? On the surface, you're still performing. You're still going to those meetings. You're still coming across as really competent, but behind the scenes, you're exhausted and you're drained. But for you, you just don't know why. It's almost like an invisible process that you didn't even realize was happening. It goes back to those open tabs, doesn't it? If we've got too many tabs open, I mean, trust me, you can't see the vision that I've got here with all my open tabs just staring at me. But that's how I rock, right? I have my tabs open, but I know behind that it is draining my system and it does impact the way my computer runs. So I know that that can happen for me as well. If I don't close my tabs down, then I do feel drained and exhausted. So this is what happens when the version of you that you've been performing for 20 years is suddenly going, hang on, what's going on? Because it isn't actually you that's causing this, it's that identity behind it. So I'm going to show you what's really driving this. And then I'm going to give you a way to start to interrupt that process, right? So that you've got your takeaway for this week. And you're going to be able to do it in real time. It's going to be really quick, but it's going to give you the opportunity to start listening to your mind and body and get yourself in that present moment. Because when we're not in that present moment, it means we're thinking about the past, we're thinking about the future, we're all over the place mentally, really. And that CPU is just draining. So when we can step into being in the present moment, even if it's just for a second, then we can start listening to what our body's trying to tell us. Okay. So let's talk about where this actually comes from. Now, I'm going to show you how some protective strategies are costing you everything. Now, that might seem quite dramatic, but just listen to this. It could be that you're over delivering. It could be that you're that people pleaser. It could be that you're noticing that imposter syndrome kicking in more and more often. Perhaps it's that you're never switching off. Maybe you're saying yes to things when actually you really want to say no. Maybe it's that checking of emails at 10 p.m. just in case there's something that you really ought to look at. And again, I can honestly say I've been all of those over the course of a period of my life. Not now, obviously, because I know different. So, and this is important, these aren't personality traits. They are protection strategies, all right? So just let that sink in for a minute. You developed these when you were 5, 6, or 7 years of age because they worked for you and they kept you safe in the moment. They may also have got you approval from your caregivers or the adults around you. And actually, that probably made them happy. So if as a youngster, you didn't realize it was people pleasing back then, but you might have over delivered. You might have tried to do so well at school, for example, because maybe you did a test and you got 95% and you come home and your dad went, why didn't you get 100%? So that little version of you has gone, okay, well, I need to do better then. I need to do more to please my dad, right? So that little 5-year-old just constantly overperforms, over-delivers because he wants to gain love. So you can have a situation where you keep running, you keep trying to run away from everything. So that identity of that little child at 5 who was trying to people please, if you like, their father, that little version of you that you need to keep pushing has taken you all the way through school. He's taken you all the way through your 20s, maybe uni, whatever it is you did. It's taking you to getting your jobs. It's taking you to get your promotions and maybe even your pay rises. And actually what you've built so far is pretty impressive. They got you here. They built your career, but they were never actually yours. They were your 5-year-old's best ideas for staying safe in this world that really felt unpredictable. Does that make sense? That little version of you at 5 felt safe by over-delivering, being a people pleaser. But that 5-year-old may still be running the show in your adult life now. So in that instance, you're not 5 anymore. But the problem is your nervous system doesn't know that. Your nervous system is still activated like it was when you were 5, when you needed to people please, right? And what's happening, it's a bit going back to that computer. It's scanning for safety all the time. In your subconscious programming, it's running to try and find that safety. Am I doing this right? Do they need my approval? Did that land well in that meeting? Did I say it the right way? What did they think of what I said? Did I get it wrong? And that is a real power drain. But here's the most important thing that people miss. Your brain isn't just reacting to what's happening. It's constantly imagining what might happen next. It might be imagining on how's that email going to land? What were they going to think of me in that meeting? Did I say the right thing? No, I should have said that. And you're running overly over and over everything in your head, using your imagination. Now, one thing about our imagination, okay, there are no limits to our imagination. And this is important, right? When we are overthinking, when we're worrying about what people say, when we're scared about what's going to happen in the future, when we're in a fear state, our imagination is working overtime. Like imagine what they're going to say about me. Oh my God, this and that. That's using so much energy, negative energy in your body. But that also leads us into when we start manifesting things. If we think about negative things all the time or overthink things and put ourselves down, that's what our body's going to take on board. And that's what we're going to get more of. All right. Now, your imagination is the most powerful tool we have. and it has no limits. It doesn't run out. You don't get so many credits and then it runs out. You using it all the time. Your subconscious mind is running the show as well, right? So start understanding that once you can start stopping and understand what you're thinking and what you're doing, and start using your imagination in a more powerful way, then imagine that what you could achieve. All right. So this little version of you that was 5, that wanted to people please and didn't know any different, that's 5-year-old is still running your show. But that 5-year-old is also using that imagination of, oh my God, what are people going to think? Overthinking everything. And then you go more into that people pleaser mind, or even that imposter, or even that anxiety moment, anything that's going to kind of stop you in your tracks and put you off, really, basically. Your brain is just reacting to what's happening. It's all going to just whirling around in your imagination. You're running a stimulation all day, and your body doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So whatever you're imagining, your mind is not going to challenge, right? So your imagination does not know what is real and what is imagined. And that's a really important point. So if your body doesn't know the difference, it's still going to physically react. Your body's going to react before the thought even comes into your head. So that means, again, if you're in that meeting and you're being triggered, that's your physical reaction. That's that 5-year-old version of you that's kicking in before you've even had a chance to think about, oh my God, have I said something wrong? And this is why I'm so passionate about all of this, right? Because our identity is driving who we are as an adult. And we just don't know this stuff. And it really doesn't make any sense, does it, to not upgrade our identity so that we can be that adult that we are in real life, whatever age you are right now, to be running your life with current updated software. You might make mistakes, you might get it wrong, but at least you're making decisions or mistakes from the current version of you, not when you were 5 or 6 or 7. So your body doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. But what you will have responses, you might feel tension, you might feel alertness, you might feel effort. And that's the energy that's being sent to your body. So it's not just the performance of the room, it's the performance in your head. And that is what's exhausting you. You're not tired of doing too much. You're tired from being someone that you're not. And you're tired of being that person all day and every day for years. And exhaustion is the price of the performance that you're forcing yourself to run. So you're a senior leader, running a business, making decisions that affect hundreds of people. And underneath it all, there's a part of you that's still scanning for a threat, still trying to prove you're good enough, still waiting to get found out. And that's exhausting, right? Not because of the work, but because of that constant performance, that constant energy, that constant CPU being exhausted behind the scenes. Your body's been keeping the invoice and now it's calling it in. So let's look at what we're actually doing about this, right? I want to talk to you about something called the recognition reset. It's very straightforward. It's just 3 steps. It's catch, name, and choose. So how do you want to use this? Well, this can be used any time that you want to start bringing yourself into the present moment. So what step 1 is I want you to just catch something, catch the performance. So you're in a meeting, you're about to say something, and you notice this isn't what you're actually thinking. This is me trying to manage what they might think. That's the moment that you want to catch. Step 2 is naming it. Name what's running. So you can just say silent to yourself, this is that old program. This is that 5-year-old trying to keep everyone happy. You're not analysing it. You're not judging it. You're just naming it. And what that does, it breaks that automatic loop. So it's about stopping that loop in its process. And then step number 3, choosing one true thing. So ask yourself, what's the one thing I actually think, feel, or want right now? And you don't have to say it out loud and you don't have to act on it. You just have to know it. So let me put those into some examples for you. So to try and make this a little bit clearer. Let's take a situation that you're on a client call, right? Now they're pushing back on a timeline and your automatic response is to apologise, to accommodate and make it work somehow, even though you know that the timeline is already tight and you know that you're going to get told off by your team because they're already under a lot of pressure. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to catch it. Right, I'm about to people please here. I'm going to catch this now because this could be a problem. Number 2, I'm going to name it. This is that old program. This is me trying to avoid a conflict. And number 3, you choose one true thing. I think this timeline is already aggressive, and pushing it further puts the whole project at risk. Now, you might say it in your head, you might say it out loud, but if you can, you might be saying it to the client. But the thing is, you've interrupted that automatic response and you've given yourself a choice now. So in that situation, you, rather than just agree to it, you might go, do you know what? This is really going to put my project at risk, but let me take that away and we'll work something out. Whatever it is feels appropriate. But the point is, you're not just in that 5-year-old mode of being that people pleaser thinking, well, I can't say no, because that's that 5-year-old version, remember, not that adult version of you. Now, these situations don't always happen at work. They can also happen at home, right, in everyday life. This is not something just split down the middle for work and everything else is fine. This runs your whole life. So what about when you've had one of those days where you feel like you performed okay, but actually you're exhausted, and your partner says, oh, how was your day, darling? And you go, fine, even though you're running on empty and you really don't have anything left. So in this situation, you catch it. I'm about to perform fine when I know I'm not fine. Number 2, name it. Do you know what? This is that old program running again. It's not me wanting to be a burden. That's why I'm saying I'm fine. Number 3, you choose one true thing. Do you know what? I am exhausted, but I don't know why. Maybe I'm going to just take a moment just to reflect and see what's going on inside. And again, with all of that, you stopped. You've interrupted that program that's running behind. And just being in that present moment, just for a moment, literally for a moment, is going to make changes in your life, because now you can go, wow, I've noticed something there. I've interrupted it. And it's really an easy thing to do. It's just 3 steps to remember. And you can start interrupting your day. You can start doing things differently and start noticing what's going on and start being present. It might be the first time you've ever done this, but start to be in the present moment and start noticing what your mind and body is trying to tell you. So here's what starts to shift when you do this. Every time you run the reset, something shifts. You prove to your nervous system that it's safe to be you, that you don't have to perform to be accepted. And the real version of you, with limits, opinions, needs to be allowed to exist. That's not a mindset shift. That's an identity shift. And when your identity shifts, everything shifts. That also means that the exhaustion starts to lift, not because you're necessarily doing less, but because you've closed that background processor. That CPU is not running at 100% exhausted anymore. And you stop the constant scan for approval. And once you've stopped asking your body to find all these threats, you can start reducing the energy that you're using. So now maybe you're only using 80%, 70%, 50% of that CPU, and that quietens things down and the energy will come back online. And once you start doing that, decisions get easier, clarity returns, and you can start seeing this path and you can start taking it. And eventually you can start to use your intuition and start going with what feels right rather than what your old identity or old programming is telling you to do. But this recognition reset, this is where it all starts. This is the first move. It's not just about mindset. No, it isn't. It's about how your body is storing these physical feelings and memories. And I like to call it your filing cabinet of life. That's what's running the show. And this is the thing. Mindset does have a powerful part to this, but you cannot change these things on mindset alone. You have to change them at the identity level. So the exhaustion you're feeling isn't about how much you're doing. It's about the version of you that you've been doing it for a while with. So your action this week is to pick one situation where you know that you're performing. Maybe that's a meeting, a conversation, a moment where you say what you think they want to hear instead of what's actually true. So I want you to run the recognition reset. So remember, it's catch what's going on, name it, and choose something different. So catch, name, and choose. You don't have to change anything externally. Just notice it. Notice what shifts internally when you make contact with it. Notice what's actually true. And I promise you, once you start becoming aware of what you're doing, you can start making changes. Awareness is the first step. So if this has landed for you, here's what I suggest we do next. If you've recognized yourself in this episode, if you're the one who looks fine on paper, but knows something that's very wrong underneath, you're not going to fix this with tools you run once or twice. The recognition reset interrupts the patterns, but the pattern's been running for decades. Changing the operating system underneath That's the difference that's going to make the change happen. So that's why I created the Upgrade game plan. It's a 45-minute working session where we figure out what's actually driving the exhaustion, what's driving the performance, what's running on empty, and what could shift it. Now, I'll reach out personally when capacity opens. So if you want in, I want you to join the waiting list. As soon as I've got any slots, I shall give you a call, and you can see the QR code up on the screen there. So I think the takeaway here is, what's the performance that you're most tired of running? The one that costs you the most energy. So just to summarize for today, okay, we have the recognition reset: catch, name, and choose. Start using it. You're not tired from doing too much. You're tired from being someone that you're not. The over-delivering, the people-pleasing, never switching off, that protective strategy is not a personality trait. Your 5-year-old's best ideas for staying safe could still be running your career now. It's been a pleasure being here with you again today. So I've been Julie. Thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you next week.